You're listening to the Building and Branding Podcast, brought to you by Virtual Vision. I'm your host, Amanda Stichter. On this show, I sit down with experts in the restoration and home services industry to hear their stories of how they built their businesses to succeed and stand out. Our conversations will uncover the challenges they've faced, the strategies they've employed, and the pivotal moments that defined their paths. We'll also dive into the critical importance of branding and marketing in this field, sharing insights on how to create a compelling brand that resonates with customers and stands out in a competitive market. Join us as we blend practical advice with inspiring real-life stories, providing you the tools and motivation to craft precision and build a lasting brand. Welcome to Building and Branding. Let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back from a very long hiatus on the Building and Branding Podcast. My name is Amanda and I'm super excited to kick off, I guess this will technically be like season 3 of the podcast. That feels really like a big achievement.
It is.
So we're here actually in person. This is rare that I get to do an in-person interview with someone. And we're going to kick this off with probably one of my favorite people in the universe. This is true though. Today we have Paul Silliman with Clean Claims joining us, and we're going to be diving into a little bit of conversation surrounding just what Clean Claims is. But as always, you know, I like to take those conversations just a little bit further. So we're going to be talking about tech implementation and just kind of the pain points that come with that. And Paul's got some incredible ideas that we want to dive into a little bit today. So welcome back to the Building and Branding Podcast. Paul, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm excited to be here. Believe it or not, she will not brag, but I was actually your first guest on season 1, and it's full circle to be back. I'm, honored to be the first one on season 3, which is a big deal because most people don't know. Most podcasts never go past 3 episodes.
That's probably accurate.
So this is actually a big deal. But no, we're excited to be here. We are live at RIA right now. If our voices are a little bit hoarse, it's been a busy 3 days.
Busy 3 days, and last night's party was super fun, but it was loud.
They tend to find a way to put all the speakers everywhere when you're trying to talk, but
accurate.
That's neither here nor there. But no, I'm excited to be here, excited to share what we're doing at Clean Claims and, ways we can help drive the industry forward, especially when it comes to technology. I always like to say this isn't the world's most complex industry, but it is the most unique song and dance. It's not like a plumber where I'm fixing a pipe, here's invoice, we're done. Since there's complexities of going through different carriers, whether it's large loss, residential, TPA, all of them have their own kind of processes, procedures, SOPs. And it's kind of frankly hard to navigate some of them. Like, if you're a new technician tomorrow and you're just trying to figure out, why am I cutting up these homes? What is psychrometric readings? What is a DHU? Why am I getting into this? But also the importance of documentation. How do I actually give the receipts that go along with that estimate? Why is it even important? Because, I'm trying to get on site within a certain time. I'm just trying to make sure my truck's packed clean. Is the homeowner happy? Let alone the fact how we get paid in the industry really doesn't tie into the customer service, but yet it does. So how do we use technology to actually make our day easier, which depending on who you talk to, it's debatably made it harder.
Right.
But really, how do we capture the documentation? How do we show the site's dried, not only to help us get paid, but from general liability for a restoration company? So that way you can actually give the homeowner something saying, hey, we have dried this property. So when they may come back to you or another loss happens, it's, hey, you guys didn't do this properly.
Yeah.
No, we did. Here's all the psychrometric reading. Here's the reports. Here's everything. And that's really what we're trying to do at Clean Claims, is make it simple for the field technician. Because we all know a field technician is your best salesperson, customer success person, referral person, and boots on the ground.
Absolutely. Okay, you dove in real fast there, which I love, but I also want you to give our viewers a refresh of who Paul is. So I want to know, you've changed companies since the last time you were on the podcast. So I want to just give a, shout out to Paul was with Know How. He's now at Clean Claims, and we're super excited that he's here representing Clean Claims. But a lot of people are still kind of getting used to that transition because you're very popular in the space. But beyond that, who is Paul? Tell us just a little bit of your background.
So I've spent the past 10, 11 years in this industry. I started as a water technician. Typical. Most people didn't get into this industry because of a great job fair or something like that. It was a buddy somewhere that was like, I was working 3 jobs at the time. They're like, well, come work for us. You'll get unlimited hours.
Right.
Did I actually realize that it was unlimited hours? Probably not. But yeah, I started as just a base water technician at Paul Davis of Orlando. I moved up into a estimating project managing role, spent some time running a mold department at Florida Cat, which is now Blue Sky, before spending time as a cat desk adjuster for Liberty Mutual, frontline insurance as a daily claims adjuster, spent some time as a QA reviewer for Contractor Connection, spent some time doing large loss cat work with Royal Plus.
Is there anything you didn't do?
Never in the food industry. You got me on the food industry.
Got quite the background here.
Yeah, and then spent the past 3 years helping build the product over at Know How and team there, and phenomenal product. Still a huge fan of those guys over there before coming over to Clean Claims, where it was just a unique product where, our founder, Lane Larson, was a restorer. He built Clean Claims because he had 4 locations. He built it to try and franchise and scale his restoration businesses.
Wow, I didn't actually know that.
And the reason we even went on the software route is after a couple of years, we had a higher up at a big insurance carrier reach out to Lane and say, why are your files getting paid faster and easier than everyone else?
Which is obviously one of the huge pain points of our industry. Sorry, rabbit trail,
Yes.
but hiring and then time to get paid. So for that to be a huge differentiator is huge. I mean,
correct.
Can't say that enough.
And one of the things we found too is we're talking to insurance carriers. We're asking them, what information do you need to close a claim? Because really, at the end of the day, insurance adjusters, this huge misconception that their job is to cut bills in half and save money. I never once got a silver star for the millions of dollars I saved Liberty Mutual. They're judged on customer service, how fast they can close claims. So really, at the end of the day, our job is to help give them what they need to close a file.
Sure.
So having the ability to show documentation, because frankly, desk adjusters, who are the ones that are writing checks, they're not triple master restorers. Most of them have never been in this industry. So how do we help paint the picture, show what we did, give kind of the receipts behind that Xactimate estimate to help get paid? And then the beautiful part of Clean Claims is it's designed purely through the field technician's lens. So it's, how do we make this simple to people that are phenomenal workers? They're great with their hands, but they're not, some of them aren't tech junkies.
They're not going to go home and dive into code.
Correct. So how do we make showing this wall is wet, now it's dry, here's our photos, here's our documentation, here's our reports. How do we help paint the picture so that that adjuster who has 120 other files they're trying to close can simply look through it, see what they need, justify the payment, and make a payment?
Right.
Should be simpler than it is.
Should be simpler. I keep thinking of that like popular acronym that, the KISS, keep it simple, stupid.
Oh, I live by the KISS method.
Which is, I mean, again, sounds very simplistic, but over the past couple of years, there's been so many studies, especially within restoration. And I don't think that restoration lives in a vacuum in this pain point, but technology is always advancing. I mean, I work in, digital marketing technology on a day-to-day basis. We're analyzing, what did Google change today? Technology is always changing and you have to keep up with it. And while I love technology, it makes me want to pull my hair out.
Yes.
Because it's impossible to feel like you're constantly staying ahead of it. And that's frustrating, really frustrating. Now, in the restoration space, I can't remember if it was last year's State of the Industry report, although I think it expanded upon it probably 2 years ago that it first came out and talked a lot about the technology changes that are happening within the industry and specifically identifying the tech fatigue that's happening. So when you and I were kind of I remember when you switched and you changed your role to Clean Claims and we sat down for dinner. It was in Florida, which is where we are now, and asking you all right, dive a little deeper. What is Clean Claims? What do you guys do? Because I'd seen laying around for months and years and gotten, had met him, but didn't really know like what was the separator. And in that conversation, you gave me your spiel about like who Clean Claims is,
Mhm.
which you're always very great at. But you talked about the technology implementation and the tech fatigue that our industry is feeling. And that's what I want to dive into a little bit today. So, first of all, as we already mentioned, we know tech is advancing and I think it's necessary.
And it's a good thing.
Yeah, it is a good thing. And it's necessary for people to move forward with the technology. Why
Mhm.
would we not take advantage of these great things that are at our fingertips? But how do you do that in a way in a company that's actually effective to every single person in the company?
So that is an interesting thing, and it's part of what excited me about Clean Claims because I spent the past 3 years with Know How, which is a phenomenal tool for having all of your SOP guides, all that stuff in one digital format. But what I found was, a lot of companies are trying to grow and scale, but using systems and technologies to do that is sometimes harder when yeah, a large scale organization might have a chief technology officer. But if you're, a small single independent location that is, an owner operator who has maybe one or two kind of middle managers and then field technicians, you're already just trying to keep up with the day by day. I don't have someone dedicated to optimizing our systems or going out. Now there's some great people in the industry, your floodlight guys, people of that nature that can come in and assist, but maybe you're not in that position yet.
Sure.
Or maybe financially we're not there yet, or we're still just learning the industry.
Right.
That's where I found that it's hard to, and frankly, this industry, just in the 10 years I've been in, we went from paper documentation to I have it in my bag, I should pull it out, but the psychrometric wheel to where now you have apps that can do that for you.
Yeah.
It used to be an adjuster would say, we need you on site. You could go out, get started, write an estimate, get back to it within a couple days, and it was considered good. Well, now you need to be on the phone within an hour. You need to be on site within 2 hours. They expect a 24-hour report. So now they're expecting you to gather this documentation, which hasn't exactly been the easiest thing to do or most streamlined. So that's where, I kind of see, I'm going to break some hearts here. There is not one software that does everything. And I don't think there ever will be. So I'm actually a fan of what we're doing to where we are the field documentation tool for the guys in the field. And then obviously our remote monitoring ties directly into that. But we don't want to create this monster of every single aspect of every single, no, we are just your documentation for your guys in the field. Now, we have great integrations, which we have a different view on integrations. It has to be bilateral. If you're logging into another app, if you're having to duplicate things, if you're having to re-add
no
stuff
one
in,
wants to have to do work
it's
twice.
inefficiency.
Yes.
So we view it to
Back
where
to
it's
the
got to
KISS
go back and
method.
forth. Correct. So, we integrate with PSA, Accelerate. We're working, finalizing our Albiware and through exact analysis. And there's even some new ones here like JobSite, which is a great new one
absolutely.
tool, to where some of these tools are designed more for your middle management, for your finance team. Well, not always is that the best thing for your 19-year-old who's out in the field trying to document.
Right. Especially if they're a little bit like newer to the industry and maybe haven't yet really grasped onto some of the concepts that I think you would think you need if you're like the one who's the decision maker.
Correct.
Right.
But really, at the end of the day, it's how does our company work? So if we need to get a photo of the front of the house, which we all know is the biggest pain ever, I fall here too. Everyone's gone on Google and picked someone's street and tried to make it look good. But also the carriers are coming to us now because our system is all about process enforcement. This is when we got on site. Here's our psychrometric reading. Here's a photo. They're all live. They're timestamped. They're geolocated. It's transparency. So if it took 7 days to dry and we have all the documentation, you're going to get paid for 7 days to dry.
Right.
So it's all about giving that transparency. But what we're finding is either past experiences, past software, like almost implementing a new SOP or process, people struggle with. Because I've done it this way for 10 years. Changing that is hard. So how do we find, our driving force at Clean Claims is time to value. Our system is designed from a fifth grade level to make it simple to gather that. And my driving force, and same thing our team is, how do I get this in someone's hands within 24 to 48 hours?
Yeah.
Let them use it on a job site and actually experience it, because there's also been not the world's greatest software implementation. I know companies have taken 2 years to get running with something. So then it makes it to where by the time you do get it rolling, you've lost momentum.
Right.
Did we
Right.
pay for this? Do we even like it anymore?
Right.
So we're all about, we want you to get on a site, get using it, get up and trained as fast as humanly possible with all the resources you need so
Right.
that you can use the tool, understand it, and move forward. So it's
Sure.
all simplicity.
So I'm actually going to pause this here because I feel like what we've done is now we've kind of identified like the pain point. I want to pause for a quick word from our sponsors, and then we're going to come back and dive into a little bit of what are some of the solutions that are in place. Attention restoration business owners. Are you drowning in spreadsheets and reports trying to make sense of all the data your business generates every day? Well, it's time to turn that data chaos into clarity with our newest sponsor, JOC Analytics. JOC Analytics specializes in transforming your data into easy-to-use, customized business intelligence reports. Imagine having all the insights you need right at your fingertips to optimize your operations and drive your business forward. No more hours are spent piecing together endless spreadsheets. JOC Analytics does the heavy lifting for you. Their tool, PowerView, seamlessly integrates with popular platforms like Dash, PSA, Restoration Manager, JobDocs, and BuilderTrend. It pulls in your data, whether through open APIs, direct database connections, or simple exports. The result? A powerful, tailored business intelligence solution that puts you back in control of your time and your business. Don't let your data go to waste. Partner with JOC Analytics and start powering your business decisions with insights that matter. Visit jocanalytics.com and discover how to reclaim your time and your sanity. Discover the power of your data. Hey, it's Amanda. Real quick, I want to talk about something that I see all the time in our industry. Good companies getting burned by bad marketing. At Virtual Vision Digital Marketing, we do things differently. We're a one-stop shop for restoration and home service businesses, helping you with everything from custom website development and SEO to paid ad campaigns, social media management, and ROI tracking that goes down to the penny. We get it. Most of our clients have been promised the moon before, but that's not us. No fluff, no smoke and mirrors, just real, transparent results you can measure from a partner you can trust. And we really do want to be your marketing partner, not just another vendor. So if you're ready to stop guessing and start growing, let's talk. Simply head to virtualvision.com and schedule a demo and let us show you what real results and working with a trusted partner looks like. We are back. Again, we've got Paul Silliman here with Clean Claims, and we are talking a little bit about tech implementation. So I feel like we've identified a little bit more of like the pain point of how usually by the time companies implement a software or a new tool, the person who's making the decision is oftentimes not the person who would be utilizing that tool on a daily basis. However, they are the people that tend to be expected to put that tool into play. And now we run into an issue. You mentioned right before our break that oftentimes you get companies who are like 2 years down the road from when they decided to sign on with a tool and it never got implemented. Now we've wasted money, we've wasted time, and you've lost the oomph. You're probably just going to say, well, scrap that. We never got to it. I mean, even in our space, like we get that all the time where we have like companies who will say, I want to start this digital marketing, but let's do it. And then if that's not the right person that needs to implement that, you lose that momentum because it just becomes what's the word? It just becomes one more software, but it's like one more piece of noise in their brain that inhibits their ability to actually be productive. So my question is, how do you solve that? Because it's not the company owner that's going to be using like
Correct.
a clean claims solution. And we're not just talking about clean claims, like any really software solution, CRMs, any of those things, digital marketing, it's not going to be the owner 9 times out of 10 that's going to be implementing those pieces and in charge of running it. It's going to be the people that are on the field. How do you overcome that?
Well, that's $1 million question. One thing I've noticed is bringing in those people, in those meetings to see what we're working on, what that tool is, but also what is the path to success with it. That's something I lose a lot of sleep over, is how do I make sure to give the clearest path possible to success? Now, I do see one thing in this industry that is something that could be very helpful is, employee turnover is always a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
And time to get paid. Well, time to get paid is normally, do you have your systems and processes? Do people understand what is needed to get paid? How do we make sure we're documenting and giving what they need? But also, field technicians, as someone that was a field technician, as someone that for me to grow meant leaving my company I was at.
Sure.
I did not have the greatest I worked with great people. I love the companies I worked with, but there were not growth paths. You get kind of stuck in the role you're in. And that's where, a lot of field technicians, some may be great estimators, some maybe aren't designed to be in leadership, but they're kind of gearheads. Some guys like to play with products, and like at the show we're at right now, there's booths right around here that has, new dehumidifiers, new air movers, new stuff like that. When you're thinking about how do I keep that amazing technician who maybe isn't set up to go into more of an office role.
Sure.
Especially a smaller organization may not have a chief technology officer. Why not create a role for your technicians at a chief equipment so that they own that process, or a lead technology technician, so that when we're looking for a new field documentation tool, or someone that can be the owner of that process, so that they can learn the tool, they understand it, because for adoption to work, normally you need a champion within the company.
Yes.
So if you look, I'm a restorer, I'm this and that, but I'm still the sales guy. I can give you the greatest thing in the world, but I'm still an outsider. Now, when someone inside the company is like, guys, this made it so much easier, this is how you do it, the buy-in happens. Then all of a sudden we're getting value back for what we invested in. Especially like the trade shows we're at now, if you do have someone that is at like chief equipment officer for technicians, or whatever the role and the title is, now you send those person to the RIA. You send them to the experience or access or something like that, to where now they're meeting with Dryese and Phoenix and
the people who are using the equipment are the ones that are saying, I can get behind this.
Or
really
here's the problem I'm finding with the equipment we have. If only it was able to do this, or this could solve this. Now, when you're looking to make that financial investment, you have buy-in from your team who's already 5 steps forward, instead of, hey, I bought this. This is what we're doing.
This is what we're going to do now.
Correct. And then also, it allows you to have a smoother onboarding process, because we all know what you want. An owner just says, hey, I was sold on this. This is what we're doing. All right, great. Middle manager who's already overtasked, overworked. Right. By the way, you have to train our entire staff now on how to do this.
Right.
That's how you lose good people.
Well, and I think then, you also get into, yesterday I attended a great session that talked a little bit about not only like leadership and culture, but it talked a little bit about giving your employees a voice. We want to hear our team members. We want to take what they're bringing to us as important and really own that as leaders within a business. But now what about like shifting that back on them? Hey, you told me you wanted this. Let's do it. Do you want to champion that? Like, you're passionate enough to bring that to me and tell me this is what you need. Now, why don't we take that one step further? Own it. Like, bring that, test it out, see what works, see what doesn't, and go from there. How much more effective would that be for our team to feel like they're being heard, to feel like they get buy-in with what they're using and doing on the day-to-day basis?
They feel like they're part of the brand now.
Absolutely.
I'm part of something. Plus, what drives people to get out of bed?
Right.
This is an industry that, you know what? People are waking up at 2 a.m. People are having to go to, biohazard jobs, suicide cleanups. They're having to leave their families in the middle of the night. It's not all monetary.
Right.
It's not all, a title. Some guys just like, that's how brains work. I have ADHD. That's how my brain works. The minute I walked into this expo hall, I'm like, there's a ton of cubic footage. There's a lot of carpet in here. That's just how my brain works.
It's the same reason we set a time for this to happen. you showed up a little late, and that's okay because I imagined you saw 10 other things that caught your attention on the
Correct.
way here.
But also, how do we put incentives in those people's wheelhouses to where
Exactly.
there's those guys that just, some guys, you get to the truck and you're like, what bomb blew up in this thing? This thing's horrendous. And then you look at the ones to where all the DHUs are perfectly lined up. All
Right.
of my supplies are perfectly lined up in the
Right.
truck and they're ready to go. And of course, I need everyone to look like that. Well, what's driving that person
What's
to
the
do that?
difference?
But
Yeah.
also when it's someone, one of your peers that's like, by the way, this is how we're doing this going forward. This is how we're going to make the virtual vision or whoever brand, this is how we're going to do it going
Yeah.
forward. There's a buy-in when it's amongst peers versus being pushed from the top down.
100%.
But finding what people like. We all know there's one guy on the crew that just, you say it tomorrow, you're like, oh, this DHU's not working great. You look around, he's already got this thing into a million pieces. Oh yeah, the pump's not working great. I can't figure that out, but they were. So
Absolutely.
would you want me doing the purchasing on our new DHUs or the guy who understands how they work and who really enjoys it? But also with this younger workforce coming in, they have lived and died this thing in their phone.
Yeah.
So for them, taking a photo or a reading or using something like this is not a huge barrier to entry.
Well, they're also used to like hearing about a new app and exploring that and seeing like, is this something that I want? So to hand them another piece of technology and say, hey, you want to give this a go? I mean, realistically, you're just leaning into their wheelhouse.
Correct. But they also might take this tool that you're like, I don't know if this is going to work. They might take it in 5 minutes and be like, yeah, I figured it out. We're good to go. So utilize that newer generation.
Absolutely.
Let them take it and run with it, but also let them have that voice to say, by the way, I know this is how we do this. I found this new solution and it cut 3 steps out.
Well, and I think, even more so, one of the things that you mentioned when we started this conversation and we talked about it a little bit was beyond just like championing someone on your team to own that, let what they like actually do within the company reflect that on a regular basis, more than just one like product tester here at a time or whatever. You identify the person. So who's the lead tech that tests your tech? Who's the lead tech that tests your tech? Wow, that was like a tongue twister. But you know what I'm getting at. But like giving someone that opportunity to own that, your chief technology technician. Maybe something a little different with too many tech words.
But also, who's the person that can go in the field and test it?
Exactly. And can really own that every single thing that you trust to give you their honest feedback.
Plus, it's a delegation tool.
Absolutely.
You have to get things off your plate.
Yes.
Your senior project manager cannot do an implementation, manage your projects, make sure you're delegate. Because really, at the end of the day, the delegation of this is quality of work. Because if you're throwing something on someone else's plate, sure, can they get to it? But what is going to lack from that?
Right. Something else will have to fall.
Yes.
I think too, I mean, we get it all the time. The number of owners that will come up to me and be like, we need digital marketing, but I don't want to do it. And they're like, well, I look at them like, well, you shouldn't be doing it. You didn't start your business to run your own marketing. You need to be able to pass that off to someone, which is generally why they bring us in. But even beyond that, like the 9 times out of 10, the owner really shouldn't be my contact for digital marketing.
Correct.
It should be the people that are actually doing that on a regular basis, interacting with that business development people, chief marketing officers, like people who can understand how those brands need to tie together. And the same thing goes for the technology that we're integrating and how we're bringing those things. We're in this massive expo hall and there's solutions that look beautiful here at their booth. But how do you actually know if they're going to be effective until you get them back and you let someone who's going to use it every single day tell you if it's actually beneficial? Because if you bring them something that looks pretty and it just added 5 more steps to their process, what good is that?
And that's one thing I love about what we do at Clean Claims is we do not do PowerPoints. We've all been sold on this phenomenal slide deck.
Absolutely.
No, we break all the cardinal rules in software. We do nothing but live demos. We put it in your hands. We test it. You go for it. We don't sign contracts. It's all per job basis. So you're not stuck in this 12-month agreement, even if we don't get. We want you to use it because you want to use it.
Right.
But we're fully transparent, just like we're trying to get with our documentation. Are we the perfect solution for everyone? No. But the people that are and that have been using Clean Claims are seeing tremendous value from it.
Yeah.
But also, when it comes to the delegation, this is where people get confused. Like the term SOPs or processes, or a process versus an SOP.
Mm-hmm.
This is where owners or founders, visionaries, they are the process people. A process is basically what is our defined goal from A to B and how do we get there? And then the SOP is your strategic step-by-step in between. A lot of times owners are trying to own that entire process when they may not have been on a job site in a while. They don't know how their crews are actually going through this. So let them say, here's our defined process. This is what I want us to do. And then be able to delegate to your people and say, I need you to build the SOPs and step by step. You own that and fit that in. Well, now you have everyone rowing in the same direction. It's amazing what happens and how great, even if it's a dysfunctional team, if we're in the same road, it's amazing the mountains you can move.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, as we're kind of wrapping up our time, summarize, we've talked a lot. I feel like, we've really brought to light the problem and what we feel like is a good solution. So summarize that all. Take all the information we talked about today. What's the solution?
Solution is to find where is your inefficiencies? Is it time to get paid? Is it a lack of documentation? Is it items that are missing? Find a solution. I'm biased. Twin Claims can help with that. But find a simple solution that can help you solve that problem and move forward and be efficient as possible. And that's where, our solution, not only our software, which is designed to make sure we're following those SOPs, but even our remote monitoring feature too as well, which all ties directly into, doesn't eliminate a job. It's never going to replace boots on the ground, but also how do we make better decisions with real live data to be able to say, here's our drying conditions. I can get most of our power users of Clean Claims, they're not cutting out like, oh, I'm not going to site anymore. No, now it's the mitigation manager can look and actually say, by the way, our relative humidity in this house is still in the 45. We're not dry yet. Hey, I need you guys to check, is our, what's going on with our dehues? Do we need more equipment? Or how do I allocate resources better and be more efficient? And frankly, the remote monitoring, use it on a weekend. We all know Saturday there's a baseball game. The homeowner doesn't want you there. But if we can't document it, it doesn't happen and we can't bill for it. Well, now you can see those psychrometric readings. You can still gather that data without being there. But also at the same token, I can now see live unmanipulated data. So if the homeowner is turning off our DQs, I can now see that happening. If I had a perfect example of one. I got a phone call yesterday from a client who's saying, hey, I'm not seeing any live readings in the house. What's going on? Well, because we're a Wi-Fi based system and we have our base stations that produce the Wi-Fi in the home, my first question was, when you plugged all your equipment in, how is the power? It's like, oh, it was a little shaky when the dehues kicked on. The breaker went out. But because we saw that the reading stopped, his guys were able to get out there first thing in the morning, realize the breaker went off, fix that problem to where if we didn't have that data, didn't see that, maybe they don't get to the later day. That's a whole day of drying that didn't happen now. So you're able to triage, make better decisions, and maybe cut down a day or two of drying and just make better decisions with the information you have access to.
So realistically, all of this sums into, to make better informed decisions, you have to empower the right people to implement that. And you had said the right, I don't know, you said it earlier, something about just the right tool. But I would even go so far as to say, I mean, it's not just the right tool, it's also the right people that are doing that. And so how much more powerful that could be in a business when you have the right people. And again, this goes beyond just, even restoration companies. Right seat. Like, you have to find the right people that can help you implement and reach those goals. And you have to get their buy-in with it as well. And technology is so huge when it comes to that, because it's either going to be the thing that's viewed as like, oh my gosh, I have to figure out one more tool, or, oh my gosh, I get to figure out one more tool. When you find a tool that you're like, I think this can solve my problem, it's motivating.
Correct. Well, 100%. It's also, do you have a clear goal in mind? Because that's like, everyone's still talking about AI. Well, AI is a very powerful tool, but it's a prompt-based tool. You don't just say, solve my problem, AI solves it. No, you have to know, what are you trying to do with that? Same thing. Hey, if that Wednesday morning production meeting is miserable, I've been there. I've seen a couple fist fights in them. It's, did you take photos? What's going on? It turns into a waste of time.
Yeah.
Okay, great. What are we missing and how do we solve that?
Yeah.
And that's where I like where the software in the industry is going right now, because there for a while we used to have very, very powerful segmented tools for different parts of the business.
Mm-hmm.
And then they kind of got congealed. It turned into this one solution solves everything.
Right.
Well, now I'm seeing new companies come in that are saying, well, we
mastered this part.
Dominate this part.
Yeah.
This part dominates this part.
Yeah.
This is how we can make things work, in finding a solution that works for you versus here's our one legacy product that we've used that we just have to make work.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Paul, I'm super grateful for your time today.
Absolutely.
I appreciate all of the expertise and the wisdom that you always bring to this conversation. Anything final that you want to leave our viewers with?
Yeah, it's, if it's something you're interested in, clean claims or remote monitoring, any of that, feel free to go to cleanclaims.com, request a demo. We're happy to go through, walk through the process, see if it's something that will help for you guys. But really, find a solution that works for you, whether it's us, whether it's another software. We are a small, tight-knit industry.
Yeah.
So there is something that can help you, but also really take a look and define your goals.
Yeah.
If you're looking to build leadership, if you're looking to do this, there's the guys with Floodlight. If you're looking for marketing, Virtual Vision is the best, period. If
I did not pay him to say that.
Well, not yet. But no, if you're looking to streamline your SOPs, Know-How is a phenomenal tool. If you're looking for a job management tool, that's where PSA, Accelerate. There's numerous
finding
things
the
out
right fit. Right,
Yeah.
I'm interrupting you quick
But don't be afraid to make a change.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to make a change, but also find the right fit. I tell people all the time that come up to my booth, listen, just because I'm talking to you does not mean that I am the right fit for you.
Correct.
And that is okay. It is okay to say, you know what? I think someone would be a better solution for you, or I think this company would be a better solution for you. There's power in that.
Correct. But also, there are good people that are the vendors out here.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of used car salesmen as well, but there's a lot of people that spend time. I tell people all the time, I feel Clean Claims can solve a lot of problems for a lot of people, but if we're not the right solution, I know about every other vendor.
Yeah,
let me help
point you in the right
solve
direction.
this for someone.
Yeah.
So it's a tight-knit industry, but also don't be afraid to talk to maybe that owner down the street.
Yeah.
What are you guys successful with?
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've met with clients who are like, well, yeah, I met with our other location down the road and they don't have this problem.
Right.
Well,
right.
How did you solve that? Let's open that conversation because at the end of the day, I'm very fortunate that the first owner I worked for sat me down and was like, there is more than enough pie in this industry to go around.
100%.
The people that fight for the 10% are normally the ones that aren't here 3 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a lot of new owners coming into this industry that I am very much like, go find a mentor, go find someone you can talk to, whether it's the RIA, whether it's joining one of these networks, go talk to someone else because really someone else has helped solve this. I do this all the time on the software side. I'm always trying to innovate and we're always trying to find ways here, but these same problems have been solved in other industries.
Absolutely.
Oil and gas has solved it. My father worked for Frito-Lay for years. I can tell you how grocery stores are set up and the way people brand. There's other ways to solve things that, yes, our industry is unique, but there's nothing that says the guy down the street hasn't solved it either. Ford manufactured cars, the Toyota method for years on how they manufacture and push things out.
Yeah.
How can we implement that in? And I'm seeing more and more companies get innovative in that way. So I'm very optimistic of where this industry will be in the next 5 years.
Absolutely.
And I see nothing but positives coming.
Who knows? Maybe in 5 years we'll have season 10 and we'll
Probably.
be like, Paul, remember that time we had that conversation?
Well, the key is we got to make sure not to skip 3 seasons before we go back and forth on these. So
It's true. Well, Paul, I'm thankful again for your time here today. For our listeners, thank you so much for joining us. In this season, we're going to dive a little bit more into some leadership topics and what it looks like to really just develop who you are as a business or as a leader with some amazing conversations as well. So thanks again, Paul. We'll hope you come back and listen again to the Building and Branding Podcast.
By Virtual Vision.
That's a wrap on another episode of the Building and Branding Podcast. I sincerely hope that you enjoyed this conversation and got some valuable insights to take with you. While you're at it, if you liked this episode, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so that you never miss another episode. You can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you like to listen. And if you want to learn more about the show or suggest a guest for a future episode, you can head to buildandbrandpodcast.com. That's buildandbrandpodcast.com. Until next time, keep building, keep branding, and I'll catch you soon.